With me here is Sylvester Chisom, founder and president of the Young Entrepreneur Publishing Group and professional speaker. Thanks for joining me, Sylvester. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you. Today we're going to talk about publishing as an entrepreneur, which is something I'm passionate about as well. Now, as an entrepreneur, what has publishing books done for you in your career, Sylvester?
Yeah, that's a great question. First thing I would say, as an entrepreneur, when it comes to writing a book, like it changes the way people look at you in terms of the impact that you've made within business or within entrepreneurship. If you're, for instance, our primary business was with Showroom Shine Express Detailing, within the car wash business. And when we put out our first book, it changed the way people perceived us, in the sense of just like, oh, these guys are experts in the car wash business, but it turned into, you're an expert in business, in the sense of you're telling your story, you're sharing tips as far as what helped to make your business successful and how someone else could use those same tips or strategies to have success within their business. And on top of that, it's marketing in terms of, if we're speaking somewhere where a person could be a potential customer for our business. So our business is based out of St. Louis, Missouri. So if I'm speaking at a high school or a college somewhere in St. Louis, then it also, there's the other benefit that now someone has a deeper connection with our brand. And as an entrepreneur, if you want to be that person that doesn't mind being the face of the brand or sharing your story with people, that helps to give that deeper connection, and it adds to the competitive advantage that you have for that primary business that you're basing all your writing on in terms of your experience. But another part of that is that it ends up creating an entirely different business, and that's what happened for myself, where it started off as, I just want to share these tips in terms of entrepreneurship through my book, The Young Entrepreneur's Guide to Success. I want to share how we started our business when we were 17 years old, literally out of the trunk of the car with the water hose in a bucket, and grown it to have multiple locations and national success, and sharing those stories. But then it turned into, we want to order 100 copies of this book, and schools and organizations and conferences, can you come here to speak? And what is your speaking fee? And it turned into an entirely separate business, which is kind of cool, because it's really a byproduct of another business. It's like you ended up creating an entirely different stream of revenue that's a byproduct of something that you've done already. So I kind of appreciate that.
It seems like there are so many media websites and books out there. How can someone's writing still reach an audience and make a difference?
Yeah, I think it's important to have clarity on who your audience is. Like the greater clarity you can have for who your target audience is, and like be super focused on that and writing for those people instead of trying to write for everyone. Like instead of trying to write for the 80% that may read your content, but they're not buying anything, or they're not like your rabid fans. Like you want to talk to your fans, the people that love you, and try to find out where those people hang out, where are those people online, so that you can be super focused and super targeted, and it's not, so then you don't have to worry about all the different websites, because you're very focused on what it is that you're trying to accomplish with, and what you're trying to accomplish with your content and who your content is for. And then the other thing I believe is being consistent. So like if you're blogging or something like that, if you're going to start blogging, like you can't blog once a week or twice a week for 2 or 3 months and then like you kind of fall off the face of the earth. Like that consistency will also help in terms of creating a fan base around your content. And it's not a sprint, it's a marathon in terms of trying to build that fan base. So you need that consistency with producing quality content. However often you choose that you're going to produce that content.
Do you think that every entrepreneur has a story and expertise that will benefit others?
Well, I've had the pleasure of speaking at a lot of conferences and colleges, and I run into so many different entrepreneurs in so many different types of business, from the founder of Redbox to the founder of Priceline to the founder of prepaid credit cards to entrepreneurs that are still working out of their basement, that have small companies, that sort of thing. And what I found is that everyone has a different story that you can learn from. Like everyone has a different story that you can learn from, and that's something that can be shared. And it doesn't matter if a person has grown a company to $1 million, to $100 million, to $1 billion, or even to 10,000. There's some lessons within that story of that company. How did you come up with the idea? There's so many different ways that people come up with ideas, and that's something that other people can learn from and be inspired by. Or how did you go from idea to product launch? That's different for pretty much every person. And then other people sometimes when you hear a company's story, like it's almost like a situation where sometimes when people go to church, it's like, oh man, the pastor, he was talking directly to me. And it's a person that may be sitting in the audience or hearing a startup story or a business success story or a failure story. It can be something that they needed to hear, that someone else is going through at that exact moment. So I feel like every entrepreneur, every company, every business has a story to tell, and that's valuable information.
Do you feel that all entrepreneurs, as a part of running a business, do they need to be a writer? And whether yes or no, why is that?
I think it helps. I think it helps for the brand, and especially in the social media age today, and the way that the consumer really likes an inside look. They want as much information as possible. If you think about the way people post on Instagram, like people want to see not just the finished product, they want to see how it's made. They want to see the people who are making it. They want to see the materials that go into it, the processes. The consumer likes that inside look. So if a president, a CEO, a founder is okay with putting themselves out there as the face of the brand, that's awesome, and that gives a deeper connection for the consumer with the brand. However, even if a person wants to stay in the background, I still think like every company or every small business should produce some sort of content. It's helpful in the sense of even just like maybe search engine optimization, if it's like blogging and that sort of thing. But you don't have to, if you don't want to put your name on it or your face on it, just do it under the name of the company or under the brand or have somebody else as the face. But I think that I totally think that it's valuable, and it's something that companies should do.
And once again, I'm here with Sylvester Chisom. This is our last question here. Now, Sylvester, you've published several books, including The Young Entrepreneur's Guide to Success 2.0. If an entrepreneur wants to get started writing, what are your top few tips to help them get their feet off the ground?
Okay, one, I would say if it's something that's really on your heart that you want to do, and it's something that's keeping you up at night, just start writing. Like, do a brain dump. Like, in terms of, don't worry about trying to organize it into chapters or into sections, but just the things that are on your heart or on your mind or that you feel like you're an expert in or something that you want to share, just start writing. Put it down, and it doesn't have to be like all at one time, but even as you encounter different business experiences, like just write them down, like how you overcame a situation or how you negotiated a contract or how you launched a product or a story, something didn't go well and you figured out like it's time to stop doing this and move in a different direction and pivot. Like start writing that stuff down, and eventually the book may start to take shape in terms of telling your story or the things that you want to share. I think that's a big thing, just getting that information out of your head, and then too, think about it like it doesn't have to be a one-man show. Like collaborate. A lot of times, as entrepreneurs or business people, that's just what we are. We're business people or we're entrepreneurs. We're not necessarily writers. So find a writer, like yourself, a guy like Michael. You could be a person that could assist someone in doing more because you are a writer. You enjoy writing. But someone else, like, hey, I've experienced all these amazing things. I've had all these interesting business stories, and I want to get them out, but I need some help. And that's actually what we did with our book, The Young Entrepreneur's Guide to Success 2.0. Sat down with a young lady, Jamaica Merriweather, who actually had written an article on our company, Showroom Shine Express Detailing. And we did the interview on a Monday, and she produced the article on Friday. And it was awesome because when we read the interview, it was like, wow, she took everything we said and she said it in the article. It came out in the article the way that we wanted the information to be expressed. And I've done a ton of interviews and articles from Ebony magazine to Wall Street Journal to different newspapers all across the country, and it doesn't always come out that way. So by finding someone who can take your words and put them on paper and you appreciate the way that it reads, that could be your writer. That could be a person that you could partner with, and that's what we did. We did the entire book through interview style. I would sit down with Jamaica and talk with her, and she would provide a written version of the interview, and I would look at it and edit it for content, and then we would pass it on to another group of people that were editors in terms of grammar and punctuation, and then having focus groups in terms of who the target audience was, and allowing them to look at the book and say, yes, this information was valuable, it was informative, it was motivational, and producing the content from that standpoint. So I would say look at the book from a collaborative effort so that you can actually get it done, because I've written 2 books now, and there are people that I met before I was writing the first book that have yet to finish publishing their first book. And it's because they're not executing on getting it done. It's the same thing if you look at it from a process and bringing all those things together, the people who can help you to get it done. That's a huge benefit, so that you can reap the benefits of branding and adding potentially another stream of income, or just putting something on paper and stamping, as another stamp for your legacy in terms of a book that will always be around.
Well, once again, I'd like to thank Sylvester Chisom. If you'd like to find out more about him and his work, you can visit sylvesterchisom.com. Sylvester, thanks again for your time.
Oh, thank you, Mike.